Mega City Oceania. Oceania. Mega City. Welcome and welcome back, everybody. T here, and in today's video I'm going to be sharing with you my board game plays from August 2023. So I had 173 plays this month with 146 unique games, many of which were new to me, 17 in fact, and I was able to play almost a quarter of the games that I own. So let's jump into it. As you can see here, we had a slow start to the month with some big plays in the middle, including Button Shy Con 2023, which was hosted in Chicago this year and was super fun. One of the reasons why I got to play so many games was my friend Katie and I did a challenge to see if we could play 100 games together in a month, which we were able to do, +1. So the number one game played this month is Smoke and Mirrors from Button Shy Games. This is a game that I had put in and out of my cart every single time I've made a Button Shy purchase over the past year, and I'm kicking myself for not getting it sooner. At Button Shy Con, they had a huge demo library, and this was one of the first ones that I gravitated towards trying out to see if I would like it. I ended up playing it 3 times that day and showing it to everybody I met at the con. It is a great bluffing game, not unlike Scout, where you are playing sets of cards to one-up your opponents with bigger and bigger magic tricks. But you play your cards face down and they have a specific range of values that they could be. So there's a lot of bluffing that goes on here. It was super fun. I got the mini expansion as well as the base game right away, and I have been enjoying playing it since. I also got to play Crumbs, the sandwich filler game. Jonathan was nice enough to have Minerva Tabletop Games send me a copy to try out and review, which my full review is over on Instagram. So if you want to see more about it, you can check it out there. But it is an 18-card 1 to 2 player puzzle game about constructing sandwiches. In Vino Morte is another Button Shy game that is a classic party game that I had never gotten to try before the con. Each round, the dealer will serve everybody a drink, which is either wine or poison. On your turn, you either flip it over and drink your card to see if you survive or not, or you swap drinks with someone who still has a face down drink. Then everybody, including the dealer, drinks their drinks to see if they've survived or not. Really fun game. A buddy of mine at the convention actually was able to send me an extra copy they had along with the expansion, which is super fun. Adder Real-Time Chase System is a card game where you're making kind of like a digital snake, and in real time putting it around the board, trying to catch your opponents. This game had way more fun than it had any right to be, so it's in my cart already for next time. I also got to play my copy of Dungeon Fighter 2nd Edition. Dungeon Fighter is a super fun dexterity game from Horrible Guild Games, where you're going to be crawling through a dungeon, throwing dice, bouncing them on the table and onto a target in order to deal damage to your opponents in order to get to the final boss. And as you can imagine, along the way, you can be doing a lot of different trick shots with different equipment that you get. This is a freaking hoot. It is so hilarious. We had the best time playing it, both here at game night at my place and also at my local game store for Heavy Cardboard. So this is one you have to check out if you're a fan of dexterity. We have some other favorites like Mind the Film, Paint the Roses, Jekyll vs. Hyde, Hanamakoji. Oh, and Forest Sky I had gotten to play at 2 players. This is a set collection game, not unlike Fantasy Realms or Featherlight, where you are going to be having cards in your hand that are matching with cards on the table in a common pile. I have to say that I really enjoyed Forest Sky at more than 2 players. So much so that I ended up picking it up at ShyCon, and I'm really excited to trying out the expansion once that comes in. Some other favorites, we have Tokyo Judo Henbaiki from Jordan Draper Games. This is a set of components where you can play many different games. This time around, I got to play some of the dexterity games, one of which was like croquet, where you have your small can and you have to flick it and hit the other cans in a certain order before your opponent does. So that was really, really fun. Unearthed, Resurrecana, Broom Service, It's a Wonderful World, Junk Art. Ooh, we just got like all the great picks here. Also, Mega City Oceania, Oceania. Mega City. This is a dexterity game based on a title from Jordan Draper called Tokyo Jutaku. And in this game, you are going to be pulling out different resources, using them to construct buildings, and then floating them into the middle of the city without them falling over. This has a really great blend of strategy and dexterity, and it is one of the most gorgeous games once it's all set up on the table. We had some other plays of some favorites like The Great Dinosaur Rush and The Hall of the Mountain King. Ooh, Maharani is a really fun one from Queen Games. I know that it's not well received by many, but the thing I love about Maharani is that it is a tile laying game with a second layer of patterning. So when you place your tile, you score it based on adjacency to other colored tiles, which could be placed by anybody. But then you can also have the potential to place a meeple on top of there, which chains off of your other meeples that you've placed. It's a really clever way of freshening up tiling that I haven't seen too many games do. I also had a first play of Ela and Something Shiny. This is definitely a kid's game or a game for people who are newer to gaming and really like games. Story-based, very charming, very endearing. You could definitely play it with a younger gamer, even though it's a solo. Isle of Trains is a really fun one. I love my original version. I don't know what the new Kickstarter has added. If y'all want to educate me on that down in the comments, please feel free to, because I would love to see what updates they may have made. Multi-use cards, I love, which you guys know. I also got to play Sea Salt and Paper in person for the first time. Michelle from Second Star on the Left actually brought her copy to Button Shy Con. The aesthetic of this game is just absolutely gorgeous, so hopefully looking forward to picking up a physical copy of my own very soon. All the Food Cart is a 2-player Button Shy game. It's a worker placement game from Jay Eats, which again, it just blows my mind how you're able to make it a worker placement game that only uses cards. Brilliant. I also picked up a copy of The Great Split on Prime Day for super cheap, and although this one is very mathy, very Excel spreadsheety, I think the overall aesthetic of the game is gorgeous. The I Cut You Choose mechanic is just wonderful. There's some nice combos that you can get. It's just a really great game, so I'm glad that I was able to pick up my own copy. I also got to play COG for the first time in a long time from Dr. Stephen Games. This is a combination of worker placement, roll and move, engine building, tiling, word building, Scrabble-esque, where you're trying to get different letters in order to name parts that you need to create inventions. That's the flavor. And this is a really unique, if any of those things sound cool to you, if you're tired of just the same old, definitely try that one out if you get a chance. Also got to play some of my Sashi and Sashi games, including Blend Coffee Lab, which is just, it's crazy to me how many iterations of trick taking there can be while still freshening it up. So that's really impressive. I got to try Exploring Galapagos, which is a brand new game from Button Shy. This one has cards which have multiple different scoring opportunities on them, a lot to keep track of. I'm definitely looking forward to playing it more once I am not in a 10-hour gaming marathon and have a little bit more brain space to digest what's going on, because there was quite a bit there. Which was really fun. I also had my first play of Hanamikoshi, Geisha's Road, which takes the core principle of I Cut You Choose of Hanamikoshi and expands on that with adding rotations of tiles to give variable scoring and different card numbers for each of the different sets. So this one was super interesting. It's definitely going to take quite a few more plays for me to wrap my mind around the strategy on this one. So I'm really looking forward to playing that one more for sure. I also got to play Remember Our Trip, which is another Sashi and Sashi title. I talk about it more, as well as a lot of their other titles, in the video up here. So if you want to check that out after this, feel free to. And a first play of A World Where Everything is a Little Kinder. This is based off of a Japanese comic, and it is a game. It's push your luck. You just reveal kind of more cards as you go and try not to bust and get a collection of cards. Super cute and endearing. Glad to have it in my collection, but not necessarily like a great game for the sake of board game mechanics. Other favorites, Chosun, Fridays, Mezuzu, Spicy. Ooh, just so many good ones. Tea for Two. This was just a great month for gaming overall. I also got to try Plantopia, the card game, which mechanically was nothing to write home about. Again, it's based off of a comic, so the art was very cute and endearing. Kind of did give me Petrichor vibes, where you're vying for different weather conditions to happen each round, along with other players. So that was pretty interesting. I also got to play Super Slopes, not at Shy-Con. Button Shy was nice enough to send me a copy. Actually, when I saw this one at Shy-Con, it looked really complicated, but turns out it's not. It's very streamlined, very fast. The interesting thing about this tile laying game is at the end, once you have your grid of tiles, you're only going to choose one of the routes that runs through them in order to score. So that was a really refreshing take on tile laying. I also got to try Desert Pack from Button Shy Games. This was one I had hemmed and hawed over as well, but it was a bluffing game that was kind of all right. It's not one that I'll be picking up, but I'm definitely glad that I got to try it. I also had my first play of Cactus from Jordan Draper. This is his re-implementation of a game called Tribe from Eaton Games. And while I did know that it was physically smaller than Tribe, what I didn't realize is that the rules are also pared down. So I think I would always prefer to play Tribe from a gaming standpoint, but Cactus is super cute and portable, so I'm glad I have it. Movie Plots is a button shy game, kind of more of an activity where you are creating a film script together based on different prompts that you draw. That was fun to try out as well, but not necessarily my cup of tea. The Boy Who Cried Wolf is a really straightforward bluffing game where you either get a sheep or a wolf and people have to vote on whether they believe you or not. So that was a cute one to be able to try out as well. I finally got to play Gosu X, which is a 2-player re-implementation of Gosu. The original Gosu plays up to 4 players. It's about different goblin factions. It was published by Moonster Games, now known as Sorry We Are French. And then Sorry We Are French took those mechanics, put them into a 2-player game, condensed it down, made it really tidy and clean, and updated it with new art for their Immortals kind of universe that 9 and I'm supposing maybe other games will be in as well. So very glad I got to revisit this. Glad that I have both though, because I didn't initially realize that Gosu X was only 2 players. So glad that I have both in my collection. I also had a first play of Northgard Uncharted Lands. This is a deck building, area control, resource management game. I'm not a big fan of area control, as many of y'all know, but this one did skew slightly positive for me, maybe because I won. So I'm not sure how that one would go in the future, but again, glad I got to try it out. Tony's Treasures is a small button shy game. This was actually the freebie in my bag. It's just, I think, 9 cards. And it's a bidding game not unlike QE, where you can bid as much as you want on the items, but there's a 50-50 chance that at some point towards the end of the game, the cops might show up. And if they do, whoever has spent the most money ends up going to jail and losing. So this was a really fun, just like 5-minute bidding game activity. And I'm glad that I got a copy because it was not on my radar before that. Avignon Clash of Popes is one of the classics in the button shy line of things. It is a 2-player tug-of-war style game where you're trying to get a certain number of your characters to the other side of the board. This one wasn't one that I necessarily feel like I need in my collection, but again, it was really cool to play. And I got to play the Groundhog Master set at our local game stores, Heavy Cardboard Nights. I'm super excited for my copy to come in. If you're not familiar with Groundhog, it is a multi-use card, engine building, resource management, contract fulfillment, a little bit of area control with your contract markers. It's got so many great elements to it, and it is such a fantastic game. The first time I played Le Groundhog, I was in love, and so when they announced that they were updating the art and adding more mini expansions with its deluxe master set, I was all in. I don't often spend more than $40 on a base game, but this one, when I saw it, I was like, done, take my money, have it. So I'm super excited for my copy to come in so I can try all those mini expansions and get it to the table a bunch because it was gorgeous presentation, gorgeous design, absolutely love it. And that about wraps up our August 2023 plays. Let me know in the comments down below what games you played this past month and what you're looking forward to playing in September. Thanks so much for joining me as always, and I'll see you next time. Bye.